I know you're tired of seeing my face, but you love hearing my voice. We're back once again.
Get used to it.
Yeah, man. Get used to it or get lost or some shit. All right, but we're back once again. We are the Wash Guys. Wash never washed up.
I'm Jean-Luc Picard.
And I am Draft. This is episode number something. I don't know, man. Yeah. It'll pop up on the screen, man.
Interview series,
yeah,
man. And we've been doing the things that podcasters do, staying productive. Shout out Warren 404 Creators in the building.
Shout out 404 Creators, man.
Hopefully y'all been checking out the content we've been putting out recently. We recently dropped the Sean Foy interview.
Oh yeah, please check that out.
We did episode 72.
Do-Rag Era.
Yeah, Do-Rag Era. Really good episode. Did a mock verses of the Dipset. Locks versus this.
And then we're going to run back that versus soon, so buckle up for that, man. We're just trying to figure out the right little lineup. I'm trying to let this thing have Nori against his Beans, but...
That's kind of... the problem with this last versus was I was more a fan of Dipset, but so is he. And, like... The last versus was really like an even split. This versus ain't gonna be an even split.
I would have won with Dipset, just saying. You know what I'm saying? We could even run it back and give me Dipset, bro.
Oh my god! I told Taj
like, I'm just saying.
It's not why we're here.
We're not here. It's fine.
Here.
But yeah,
as you can see to my left, Draft's right, we have the wonderful, talented, you know what I mean, amazing Phyllis Iller.
The incomparable.
The astounding. All those adjectives.
What up?
Yeah. I like to call her Melly Mel.
Yeah, we call her Mel, man. But y'all know her
to the world.
In
the photograph world is Phyllis Iller. So welcome, man. Thank you for finally pulling up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Not even finally. I sounded like we asked you a bunch of times.
Right.
I shit on you.
Draft was like, hey man, so you think you might you wanna pull up? Yeah.
I know you busy. What's your calendar look like between now and
Correct.
Never?
That's exactly what the shit was. That's exactly how it went.
But yeah.
So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, man. For the soft intros are usually like lackadaisical, but I would like to ask like
basic questions. You know, where you from?
How you feeling? It's especially being on the other side, being one of the few artists that we've seen be productive through this pandemic. How is your creative mind now? Like, how do you feel?
You know, that's a loaded fucking question, Sean. Right now, I feel like, I'm in a space of like wanting to hold on to that piece that I felt last year because I did create all through last year, right? But it's like my work from last year is leading to work for this year, and I'm very thankful for that. But it's coming at a quick rate, so I don't have time to create for me again. And that's something that I was able to do last year, right? So it's learning how to create that time to do that. So I feel good. I'm blessed. You know what I'm saying? I'm good.
You're busy.
I'm busy. Busy for sure. But definitely want to make time, you know, for things like this and you know my own personal projects without feeling guilty. You know what I mean?
I feel you. All right, so we'll get into the mandatory questions. Where you from?
I was born in Oakland, California, but I lived 4 different places before I moved here when I was 10. So I lived in Connecticut, I lived in Texas, and I lived in Maryland.
Where do you consider yourself from?
Man, I'm from the South. I remember when they had the So Def sign on 85.
Okay, you from the South?
Yeah, I'm from here.
Okay,
I'm from here.
Right.
So you consider yourself an Atlanta native, or like no? I mean,
I would consider myself a girl from the South.
Just the South in general?
Yeah. Because when I leave, you know what I'm saying? Like, I notice different things. I notice, like, not just the fact that they offer Coke one place and Pepsi another place and shit like that, but I'm talking about, like, the way that people move is different. It's different, you know?
Especially in the South. Like, people tend to say, like the South is slow. And it's like, not all cities in the South are like that. When people come to Atlanta, they realize it's a different pace than if you went to like Decatur, Alabama or some shit.
But even Atlanta's a little slow, but
by comparison to anybody coming from maybe like California and New York or something like that.
It's different. Yeah. But I like our level. I like our style.
Atlanta's slow, but it's also sneaky in my opinion. So you
sneaky?
So there's a reason why cap is a word here. Like if you think the city's slow, it would be your worst mistake ever, because think we slow, man. Motherfuckers just talk slow. They think fast. Yeah. And he's always thinking. They might be talking slow.
Random tangent. You think the etymology of cap comes from the little game that they play downtown where they flip the ball under the cap? Like, because I always wondered what cap meant, because I heard somebody call.
What? That's great. What, you mean like the?
Yeah, you know the game that they play with the little ball, and they like, all right,
and they flip and
because at the end of the day, it's all cap. Like, it's all ball.
I ain't never thought about that. I ain't never thought about that.
Nigga was calling my homeboy. Well,
that makes perfect sense though.
My homeboy was calling some nigga cap gun, and like he was like, "Yeah, you a cap gun, bro." And I was like, "Damn, cap gun." I knew that he been calling niggas cap for years, but I never got it. So I had to do the whole breakdown in my own mind.
But
never had
this cap gun too. It's like a bullshit gun. Like,
it's not. It's fake.
It's fake. Yeah.
All right, man.
But anyway.
Right.
All right. So what do I got, man? Well, I guess like really, like when because this is a question I always have for like photographers, because it took me a long time to understand that photography was art. So when do you think you first started noticing that, like, oh, this is like an art piece?
Can I ask you first, like, why would you think that photography wasn't art?
Because I've seen photos that I've tried to take. And I've seen
oh, so you mean you're not a photographer?
So I feel like there's some type of and I've seen photos that people who have an eye for, who maybe not even photographers. It's just like the same way where somebody who's like, may not necessarily be a rapper, but they might have some artistic genes in them. They can put some shit together. So same way with you. So when do you think like you look at the photography, like a picture or anything, like as art? Because I never thought about pictures as art until I was older.
Well, you know, like you can look at photography the same way you look at something if you were like a painting, right? You look at the composition of it. You look at like the placement of things. You look at.
But like, what age did you notice that?
What age did I notice that? Early, yo. Like, I don't know. I was probably like in my early 20s, because I was looking at the work of Jamel Shabazz, right? You know, you familiar with him?
No.
Jamel Shabazz is a street photographer from the 80s. So like if you've seen those 80s, like those old 80s, like hip hop photos and like
New York?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So Jamel Shabazz took a lot of those, right? And so I started looking at it and I was like, yo, there's art in the idea of documenting a time, so that in 2021 we can look back at 1984 and be like, dang, I still recognize the same energy, right? Being able to document the vibe is art form, right? Because not everybody can do that. You know what I'm saying? So then there's like I said, the more artistic breakdown, the composition, the usage of the light, all of this stuff,
you delve
right?
into that as you.
So like I realized that, I don't know, I was probably about I don't know, like I said, late teens, early 20s. I took an art history class in high school. Okay. I took it twice, and I just grew to love. Not
because you failed, because you liked it that much, right?
But yeah, I just like grew to just really like fuck with it, right? And so, I mean, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So I could tell you something that I think is fly, and you would look at it and be like, "Yo, that's shit," right? But I think there's still some classic things that you gotta look at. I don't necessarily adhere to all of them, all those rules and stuff. I make whatever looks good. If black people gonna look good, then I fuck with it.
I think the thing with art is like it's got to make you feel something. So whether you fuck with it or you don't, the fact that somebody took the time to take it and put all those attention or focus on all the attention to detail that it takes to make a good image is what creates the art form. Not, I think. Even with rap, like the time you put into something, I feel like is the thing that defines it as an art form for you, because you're trying to get it perfected. And with everything that you've done, I've seen also like the thing that defines art is growth. So at what point did you pick up a camera and decide like, all right, I'm gonna start shooting pictures? And at what point did you see like the transition from you just trying shit and you actually doing things? With a message.
Right, with a message, right? That's a part right there. Like, so when I was about 15, I got my first camera. And my pops was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I was like, "Yo, I want turntables and I want a mixer," right? And he was like, "Say no more," right? So when I got to when Christmas comes around and I'm looking under the tree, I'm like, "What's this little ass box?" Right? So I was like, "It don't look like no turntable." So he got me a camera, and I just really like the idea of documenting. You know how like you might grow up and your parents might have photo albums, right? And you're looking through the photo albums, you don't know none of the people. Maybe you knew some, but you didn't really know all the people. And you looking, right? So I love doing that, and I felt like, all right, if I could take images, make these portraits of my life, you know, I could go back and look at it and be like, dang, I remember what that was like.
And you had that foresight at a young age. That's
yeah, you know what I'm saying? I always wanted to do that, but I didn't really consider myself a photographer until people was like, yo, I'll pay you to do that thing that I would do for free. And like, I was just talking about this just last night
that's
to
a
a
good
homie
point
of
that you
mine.
made. That I don't want you to like skip past that, because that's something important people need to hear. Like you was willing, like that you had a thing that you was willing to do for free that somebody paid you. That was like a crazy little moment in itself, right?
Yes, you know what I'm saying. Like it's a thing. I mean, because isn't that what we all should want to do? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and it's a moment when you realize it too. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Like it's almost like, what do you call that? A Nexus event where your life takes a turn in a way where you're like, okay, now I get it. Like, because everybody else kind of, they act like as if their calling is kind of given to them, and they have all the tools they need in order to make some shit happen, especially when they're already doing it. But to actually start something and be like, all right, this is what I like. How do I get here? And then to figure out, oh, these are the tools that I need as they start to present themselves through your journey of figuring out whether or not you're good or not, like whether or not you really enjoy it or you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, like all those things that come in the process of starting something new. So that's dope.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing I think with like anything that anyone likes to do. You know what I'm saying? If you do it enough, or if it makes you feel something, you're like, yo, I'm finna do this shit. Period. Right? Like, regardless of what's going on in my life, this is going to be a thing that I do.
This is what drives me.
This is right. This is what gives me something, right? So it was kind of like that, and then I started like understanding more though about what I wanted my voice to say, because I can't tell you if I show you a picture, I can't tell you. I mean, I could tell you about it. Like, oh yeah, look at this. You know what I'm saying? This is what this means, and this is what that means. But sometimes my work will be seen, and I can't say shit. You know what I'm saying? So the photo needs to, you know what I'm saying? The photo has to say more. So if I photograph a mom and her baby, you know, I want you to see the tenderness, right? And the way that I see the tenderness is by, you know, the embrace. Like I got hella images of just people's hands on each other, right? You don't see no faces, you don't see nothing, but it's just the hands on each other, or the way they're holding each other, because that is what's important to me, right? So it took me a minute, and I'm still trying to figure out what exactly what I want to say with my work. But like I said, man, you know what I'm saying, I already knew the backbone was going to be black folks.
All right, speaking of which, I'm glad you said that. So like one of the questions I had is like, so like you got like a certain way, I think, to like portraying like the black experience. I'd say, do you feel like that holds you back at the same point?
Nah. You know what? Because I'm gonna say this. Like when I first started, like when I first went full-time freelance by myself, right? That was October 16, 2017. And like my mom's was like, maybe you need to diversify some of your like portfolio. And I was like, no, black people pay me well, and will continue to pay me well. Like, now this is not to say that all of my clients have been black, but when you look at my portfolio, you only see us there because that's who has sustained me, and that's who continues to sustain me. And I don't feel like I should have to do anything other than be myself. Do I turn down jobs from other people who don't look like me? Nah. You know what I'm saying? No. I just was emailing back and forth with a white man today.
That being said, before, I know this was probably jumping ahead in your storyline.
Yeah.
But how do you choose between the projects that make you money, like you mentioned earlier, and the projects that you do for self? Like, what determines whether a project is worth your time?
That's a good question. That's funny because I was talking to Flux about that, because I was like, yo, I only want to do like stuff that I feel something, and he was like, you lying, because if they give you enough money, you're gonna do it. And I was like, that is true, right? And I just completed a project that was like that, right? I didn't necessarily believe too much in the message,
right?
But the money was crazy, right? So I was like, all right, cool, you know, I'll fucks with that. But on a whole, when I first started on my freelance shit, right, I prayed and I was like, listen, I wrote down like certain things that I wanted. And one of those things was, let all my clients be of a positive nature. And that so far has always been the deal, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's always been the thing.
That's a good fucking answer.
So, you know, let them have a good message. I don't want to contribute my art to some bullshit just to say, oh yeah, I did. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting money. Like, there's better ways to get money.
So speaking of corporate photography, since you kind of delve into that, kind of had a follow-up question. Like, do you feel like when you're working in those spaces, is it like binding? Do you feel like you're not allowed to express yourself completely, or you know what I mean? Is it as fun as? I mean, obviously, it's probably not as fun as like doing your own shit, but
it's not.
How do you like balance that? Like, does it feel like work at those points, or?
Well, I'll say this: you gotta like, and this is with anything, you gotta speak up, right? And I had to learn to speak up, and like, it doesn't have to come out in a rah kind of way. It could just come out like
in the email.
I'm not really feeling that way. You know what I'm saying? So in this last shoot I had, this was a major commercial shoot for a pharmaceutical company, right? They had this. There's a person on a set called a wrangler, which is like they deal with children. So I was photographing a child, right? And so this lady was behind me with this like thing to keep the child engaged, like this little fuzzy fucking thing. And she was making all this noise in my ear. And I had to go to my client. I said, I need you to get rid of her, cause she's fucking with my flow, right? I didn't say it like that. I was just like, she's kind of knocking me off my square a little bit. You need to get her out of here. And then she was gone. Or at least she was still on set, but she wasn't near me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, let me interact with the child.
And that's kind of one of those things that I feel like when you get on corporate gigs, they got to pay somebody, so they just give somebody a job, and they have nothing to do with the actual. That's
a thing though. That role was a thing, but
but there's ways around that without fucking up the point of this whole shoot. Like y'all got me here to pay me money. I get that, right?
So I had to tell her, I was like, you know what? I had to really kind of go in my head and be like, yo, Mel, you lead photographer on this. You're not an assistant.
Without me.
Correct.
So,
but at the same time, I was like, I want to give my client something good, and if I'm irritated,
I'm not going to give my best.
I'm not going to give my best because I'm still thinking about this woman in my fucking ear.
Well, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here.
Singing Itsy Bitsy Spider, like. Get out of here, so you know, it's a learning experience. You know what I mean? It's a learning experience.
But yeah, all right. Let's talk about like the pull-up series you did during COVID. Let's just talk about that process of doing that. Like, how'd you come up with the idea? What you know? What would get you inspiration?
My homegirl Ola came through. This was like when this was like maybe like April. Everybody was still very much, I can't be near you, right? Because we don't know what the fuck is going on, right? So she was like, I miss you. Can I just pull up to your house? I was like, yeah, sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So our kids, she has a son. My daughter, they was like trying to throw a ball, like play with a ball, like from distance. And she was on the curb, and I was on the sidewalk, and I was like, I want to hug you so bad. And she was like, I want to hug you too. And so the sun was coming in, photographer shit. The sun was coming in just nice, and I was like, you know what? I was like, hold this. Yeah,
get my camera.
Yep, that's exactly what it does. That's exactly what it was. I was like, let me go up in here. So I ran in the crib. I came back out, and as I was opening the door up, it was like pull up portraits, and I was like, oh, like that just popped, right? I remember opening the door, it was like pull up portraits. So, it kind of took on this thing of, I want people to remain connected, right? Because it was starting to get to a point where you couldn't trust nobody. You know what I'm saying? Someone couldn't sneeze, cough, do shit around you before you was like, you got that shit?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I hate that. Niggas, but go on. Yeah.
Right. I hate that shit. So I was like, fuck it. Let's just see what happens if people come to the crib, right? They're not coming in my house necessarily. I had my mom staying with me at the time too. But so she was like, don't bring that shit in this house, right? And I was like, I got you. Like, I'm not bringing no one in the crib. If they have to go to the bathroom, then they gotta leave, right? So I ended up just taking portraits of people all around my house. Like outside, right? So backyard, front yard, across the street, in the street. And it was beautiful. And that's what I'm saying. So like, that was a passion project. I wouldn't ask nobody for no money. I mean, people could have donated. I did accept donations, but
that led to something else.
But that led to I mean, that led to so much to even now. They're like, yo, we saw your pull-up portraits. We love that concept. We love this, right? And it's because I led with my heart, right? I didn't think that anything was going to come of it. I just wanted to make sure that people can remain connected and knew that they were still being seen. Like, I heard, man, there was this one lady who came and was like, yo, I'm going through a divorce in the middle of all of this. And I'm like, shit. What is that like? Well, let me make you feel pretty. Let me make you feel beautiful, right? So that you can get your mind off of that for a second. Other people had some other shit. Some other people felt good. Some people felt like me, right? Where I was like, man, shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no work. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But
I ain't doing shit anyway. Why not?
But I'm good, right? So other people didn't feel as good, right? So my role was to celebrate with those who did feel good and lift up those who didn't. And then that shit kept going.
So before I forget this question, because obviously I'm jumping the gun. My bad. But yeah, how do you allow, like, how does it work for you in a creative space where you come up with ideas and you figure out what the message is? Because you've done a lot of, like, extensive work within, like, the black community, as you talked about, but also with women. I was thinking specifically the Light as a Rock, or the MC Light. I don't know if it was Light as a Rock specifically.
No, it was Paper Thin.
Paper Thin. And that series was really, really dope to me because you got women who fit the demographic of a certain time frame, and it wasn't necessarily current, but you made it look really, really dope to where people who were like, oh shit, they might not even know the song like me, but they're able to see the value in it. So how do you pick concepts that you feel like reflect the type of message you're trying to portray, and what do you feel like that message does for the people who see your art afterwards?
So wait, say that again. So what?
All right, so the concepts that you come up with for either, not even video, but just photography series in general, like, how do you usually come up with the ideas that you're trying to convey through photography? Because a lot of times you get people who aren't necessarily familiar with the art form who just look at it like, they're just pictures, bro, or this is just a video. Like, especially because I brought up the MC Light thing because it wasn't necessarily current. Like, I thought about talking about the Mother's Day shoot or the Father's Day shoots that you do, which I feel like is really, really dope because there are people who out there who are looking for that, but not looking for it from the aesthetic of, I'm trying to get art done. They just want family pictures that they can put on their mantle. But coming to you and booking a photo shoot for something like that is really, really kind of a deal. And I feel like it's built off the fact that you already have a vision that's conveyed through your personal projects. So how do you get to a point where you understand, oh, this is the message that I'm trying to convey, and how do you feel like it opens up the opportunity for other people to reach back and be like, all right.
Yeah, that's a good ass question. I think I just try to remain my authentic self. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So what matters to me is what I look at. When I did the tribute to Paper Thin, I was going through a bad breakup. And I was like, man, fuck this nigga, yo. I'm finna listen to. I was listening to Paper Thin, and she was like, if it doesn't work out, it just doesn't. It wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't. And I was like, bing. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, thank you, MC Light, because now, thank you, MC Light. You know what I'm saying? Because that helped me to get over something, right? And I was like, yo, this is something that other people could feel, right? So when I create something and I'm coming at it with a message, it's like, it's always from the place of wanting to connect, but that intimacy, right? Intimacy is very important to me, as well as vulnerability, right? So if we're not connecting, then why are we here, right? So, of course, at the top of my mind, I think about black men, black women, black child, right? But I harp on that, or I don't say I harp on it, but I go back to that so often, not just because I'm a black woman and I'm a mother and I love black men and I love my black man, right? It's cute, voice. but also the fact that the narrative about us is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I just posted some shit up the other day that had a titty in it. Right? It was a nicely composed picture. It wasn't about. It wasn't about. You seen it?
Nice titties.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful, beautiful picture, and the biggest thing in it was a woman's knee, right? But they took the shit down, and that bothered me, right? It bothered me because, I mean, I know nudity is not allowed on Instagram, but it bothered me because we could watch George Floyd die multiple times on fucking Instagram, you know what I'm saying? And all these other motherfuckers, all these other not motherfuckers, but all these other black people who have been killed, we could watch that multiple times. But a titty,
this is the real problem.
don't let it be a titty. Don't let it be a nipple outside of breastfeeding, right? So so it's shit like that. Like, I want to rework, alter, however you want to say it, our narrative that they'll feed us, and it's not about for the other; it's for us to see, right?
Yeah,
that's very important.
A lot of our perception. One of the things I fuck with photography, especially the way you do things, is because you brought out a point of you going through your parents' photo album, seeing how people look during that time period, and I feel like the idea of having photographs is a tangible thing. Creates so much more connectivity. It's an intimacy that you don't get with the things that we interact with today. And another thing that I was going to talk about, another question I had for you was like, photography is such a, I don't want to say watered down art form, but I mean, let's say it like that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but watered down art form now, just based on social media, anybody can sort of be a photographer. So how do you feel like you keep your art form valuable in a world where all albums are just online instead of in your household?
Oh, that's a good question, Sean. I don't know. I be encouraged. Right? Nah, because like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think part of the time, people come to me because they want that experience with me. Right?
It's definitely an experience.
It's an experience because I show up as my fullest self, and I just ask that they show up as their fullest self. Let's have a good time. Let's make some fucking beautiful images, right? Yeah. And that's what's important. So I do always encourage my clients, though, to print their stuff out. You know what I'm saying? To remember it, because what happens is when technology dies, and then what then? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do then? Right. And I say that for myself too.
That's very scary, but I hate when people bring that up. But
that's kind of how I feel when people talk about robots.
Exactly. Like,
I don't fuck with that. But
let's just let it happen quietly, man.
Like, damn, bro, internet don't work. I'm getting work today.
I don't want to address problems. Let's just act like that.
Okay, we're gonna gloss over that. So not talking about when.
Fuck my question.
But nah, like, to your point, right? So even like that type of stuff, like if we was in the studio and I was making portraits of Draft, and he said something like that, I would lean in on that hard as fuck, right?
Just so you can see him.
Because it's like, yo, we're gonna get you uncomfortable, because once you're uncomfortable and you're in that space, once you're uncomfortable and you're in that space, it's like, yo, where else can you go but up, right? Once you're laid bare and you're open.
It sounds like therapy.
Yeah.
It is.
That shit is
dead ass. It is. I was just talking about that last night. Like,
exactly
how can I get the marriage?
Another thing I'll never do.
What?
Go on.
Therapy?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't address my problems. I make jokes out of them. This is fine.
I'm only laughing because he's right.
Oh my God, y'all are killing me.
Let's go to the doctor or therapy. What the fuck are we doing, bro?
I'm gonna find a pun in this shit. Nigga, move on. Come on, man.
Gotta laugh to keep from crying and dying.
Yeah. I don't know where the fuck we were at.
And this is the problem with the black community.
Right, correct. No, but Draft, you said you're not going to therapy. You're not doing no therapy. Don't make me lean in on it. We ain't gonna get into that. Okay, that's cool.
It's not
but absolutely, photography is so much more. Huh?
Yeah. People don't need to learn about me. This shit is about you.
They do need to learn about you, Draft. But anyway, but nah, like, photography is absolutely. If someone ever thinks, I mean, people can think what the fuck they want to think, right? But
facts.
For me, photography is so much more than just snapping a photo, right? Because it's like you're stealing a person's shit, their whole shit. Yeah. You talk about soul, but you're not. Okay.
We just got this nigga to admit that manifesting might be a thing. I don't know where we stand on that. Bro, you talking like it's like trying to talk to a nigga in during Salem and ask, "Do you believe in witches?" It's like I don't know, nigga. Ain't killing motherfuckers behind this shit, but I never seen a bitch on a broomstick. So it's real. You say this.
Oh wait, it's going down. But it's going down. How's it going down?
Oh.
But by DMX.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if I fix it.
Yeah, get that.
Ooh, that nigga is a mechanic.
I feel like that shit got
it's gonna fall
10 minutes. Yeah. Anyway,
I feel like it's just slowly it's going down. But how's it going down?
All right, man. At this moment, man, we'll be back, man. Fuck
We'll
it.
take a break. Yeah, we back, man. Wash guards, wash never washed up. Still sitting here with Mel, aka Phyllis Iller.
Yeah.
Hey.
So I want to get back into our little line of questionings. I feel like a detective and shit.
Straight up.
But
you know you fucked up, man.
Took the words out of my You said you was taking pictures at the corner store.
So like
10:30.
That's funny. That's funny. That's some culture shit right there.
But
Washed.
never washed up. But yeah. So we were talking about off camera, I guess. Like your daughter, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to like lean too much into it, but I do want to say like, what does your daughter say about your photography?
What does she say?
Yeah.
She'd be like, I'm never gonna be a photographer. That's what she says. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what's funny is that she might say that to me, right? But when I know she's proud of me because like I'll go to school. Maybe when they were still doing school, right, and going to school physically, her teachers would be like, "Oh, you're Carolina's mom. She's told us all about your like work." Right? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look, don't be hyping me up. Don't be hyping me up when I'm not around. Like, it's cute. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cute. It's cute. You hype me up when I'm not around. And when you get, say you be fronting. So, you know what I'm saying? So I know she's proud of me. I know that she sees. Is her tool going to be a camera? I don't think so, right? I don't know.
Influence is there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she's never shown an inclination to like wanting a camera or anything like that.
I think even the idea that someone can live like in like a not so conventional style and like make a living is gonna be like very influential in the future. So, but yeah.
It's what I noticed is that like one time she was having a sleepover, right? And she I could hear them in there and they was talking or whatever, and I heard my daughter say, "What? You've never been to an art show?" Right? And I was like,
flex.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, listen, you the one that be talking about you don't want to go to art shows. Like, don't
I
flex.
think a lot of that shit is just you see how the sausage is made. Like when a child grows up in an environment where that's the norm, they don't realize how special it is until they talk to other kids who haven't been in that space. And the viewpoints, as you get older, you start to see that's how personalities are built. Like the way you think, how you move, all that shit is based off of the things you were exposed to early on.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that my parents gave me that like, I didn't necessarily appreciate in the moment, but now that I got older, I'm like, damn, man, thank God I was one of those people that knew about, maybe Sam Cooke or Funkadelic or any of that type of shit. Because a lot of dudes that grew up that have no idea what that is, or like they're just now discovering that music in their 40s. I'm like, what the fuck? This is some shit I thought it's like Black History to me. Right. Like some shit. Like, and I grew up in a Black History household. Like, well, not giving away my name, but anyway, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of those like little seeds that you plant as a parent, like it's definitely sprout later on in life.
For sure.
Yeah,
so
my dad, I realized talking to my parents, like there's so many things that were just around that because of the time frame, like I got to see the evolution of how those characteristics affected me. Like my mother had collectibles. Like I grew into a person who appreciated like art and collectible items. My father was a photographer and had we had photo albums. I realized how it developed a certain eye for photography. Certain kids who like never went to a museum until you had a field trip. I was like, this was a weekend for me. Like I've been to the museum 100 times. Like my first gift for my daughter, not even first. Like I think I bought it at a point in time when I realized this was a thing for us. But going and following in the footsteps of my parents, like I bought a membership to the High from the time Austin could walk because I wanted her to be exposed to that type of energy in a space where she might not understand it until later. And now it's a thing. Like, oh, this is where we going. I enjoy this space. I don't know why, but I like it.
Right. It's not boring. Yeah. It's not like ugh.
And even when we mentioned it before, like having your workload kind of switch from like me being a parent that has to go to work and do a 9 to 5 and then pick my child up from school, get dinner together, and Like that looks different when you're an entrepreneur, and it's like your child is able to see you come home with either like stuff that you've actually made, or even come with you to see how the process happens, and maybe bored and complain and do all the shit that kids do, but that looks different when you're an adult and you see how, or just older, and you see how other people work and deal with their children or parents, depending on what side of the spectrum is. So yeah, it's a unique experience. How does it affect your work being a parent and the type of images you convey? Because we talked earlier about the
that's a good question.
The nudity on Instagram and how they pulled it down. Like, how do you explain your art when your child is getting to an age where they're old enough to ask questions about shit? Because as a rapper, I think about that a lot. Yeah. But as a photographer, how does that play into your explanation for what you do and who you are?
To be honest with you, like, you know, because I've always been pretty open with my daughter about stuff. You know what I mean? And not just like breast, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing, but I'm talking about like
Dang-a-lang.
Shut up, Grab. Shut up, Grab. You say dick, but
get it right. You use the term, nigga.
I've been Christian real household.
Shit.
Nah, but I'm real open with her about stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there might be, like a couple years ago, I did a show called Reclamation that was based around 70s erotica, right? And it was nothing but titties in the, you know what I'm saying, the joint. And she wanted to go.
You called me.
My bad. We'll do another one.
Bro, 70s?
Just say out.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like, but it was. My bad.
I don't know if y'all need sound for photography, but I got all mics.
I don't know about photography, but I know about them too.
We talk about all the silly shit, bro. What shit that counts?
Do business.
You need a manager? Just for them shoots. I can show you some titties, bro. Y'all should have called us.
Yeah, I should have told y'all.
I manage all the titty shoots.
Yeah. I do all that. He do top half, I do bottom half.
Left titty, right titty, wherever you want.
However you want to man. We can do the splits, bro. We work on the splits after the pod. All right, back to the question.
Y'all.
All right.
Don't do that. Don't make that face.
I'm like, we fucked up everything.
I'm sorry.
That's so excited about titties.
I mean, this is what happens when. That's funny.
That's why you can't invite y'all. We just ruined our whole.
Y'all be real serious. Y'all like, so now, Mel, tell me.
Titties.
Titties.
Yeah. The titties like banner that flashes like fucking confetti and shit.
That's ridiculous.
But nah, man.
Funny.
I'm sorry, man. I just.
What was the question?
Yeah. That's my line. But no, the idea of explaining your art to your daughter. How as she gets older, she's gonna ask more deep diving questions about what you do and how do you answer those.
You know, I'll be honest with you. She done been with me so long, and like my journey. You know what I'm saying? That she already knows what it is. Like she knows that mommy gonna definitely gather with some black women, right? She already knows that the black women that are around her are women who make shit happen. You know what I'm saying? Like each woman that I have around her,
empowered,
is like doing a thing, right? Yeah. And it's normal to her to understand that a woman who will look like what she will look like, you know what I'm saying, handles herself and knows how to handle herself. And then she got her uncles, you know what I'm saying, and like I don't think she'll ever really ask like, why do you do this? Or she'll just know because she's seen it. She's been behind the scenes. She's been there with me when I get certain news. I remember this was a couple months ago. She was like, I was taking a call from a client and we were trying to go back and forth about negotiating. And I didn't have time to go home to talk to them. So we were in the car. And so the lady was like, Well, I think the rate for this will be, can you do 16? And I was like, 16? She was like, yeah, 16,000. Will that be enough? And when I looked over at Linda in the car, she looked at me, her eyes was big as fuck, right? She was like, I was like, what did they say? She was like, 16,000, right? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Going back to the car, I was like, I think that'll work. I think that's pretty good, right? But
Don Juan DeMarco.
But like, see why you need a manager, because if those was titties, I'd have been like, yo, that'll suffice. Like, you gotta don't be as excited.
Can we pay you in breast?
Yeah, can we pay you in breast milk?
Breast milk.
Oh,
like Diddy.
That's when you know you got Diddy money, bro. But no, that's it.
But you know what I'm saying? So she's able to hear that type of stuff in real time and like see.
That's impressive.
Right, you know what I'm saying? See mommy go from
this to that.
to. All right, we kind of chilling. All right, where you want to go?
And that's what's so crazy.
Mommy got a car. You know what I'm saying? Like all these different things.
A certain age where she gonna recount this story, and it's gonna be like.
I pray. Honestly, what's funny is that my father, like my mom is a super creative. She does a lot of shit: painting, sculpture, landscaping. She can build a house, all this stuff. My father was business minded.
None of that shit.
Right. So when my parents divorced when I was 10, that's why I moved down here. My dad built up a company to become like real big, and he was a professor, and he was all this stuff. What I not super concerned, but what I see is that I do follow my father's footsteps a lot. My dad wasn't home a lot, right, because he was doing all of that stuff, making sure that we were straight, and I never had to ask for nothing. So I have to check myself when I'm out here taking these jobs. So you asked me, like, what are some of the defining things that let me accept or decline a job? It's like, is it going to take too much away from my household? Is it going to add to my household? But is it also going to take away, right? Because when you take away from my household, you take away from my daughter. You're taking me away from my daughter, right? So I have to be very mindful about how I move with that kind of thing, because she is watching. And even though she's old enough to kind of stay at home by herself, I don't want to lean in on that.
Right.
She doesn't come with me to as much stuff. Because now she's 11, and I know she ain't gonna burn the fucking place down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know she's good, but just because she is old enough doesn't mean that she should always be by, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing.
And I don't know, like, because for a certain time, you came up in the same era we did. Like, take your child to work day was a thing, and like it was kind of your opportunity. It was like reverse show and tell. It was your opportunity to see what life is outside of you, like your schoolwork and them coming home. But that being said, when you're an entrepreneur, like every day could be take your child to work day, especially depending on how you work it. So do you think what aesthetics do you think she's missing by not having, if any, like a structured 9-to-5 type parent?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, we digging deep.
Yeah, we are digging deep. I'm gonna be honest with you, like my daughter being the type of child she is, like I say it like this: my daughter, we were going on a trip, and 4 days before we were to leave, she came to me and she was like, "Mom, what is the weather gonna be like there? Because I want to make sure that I pack the right thing." And I'm over here like, I'm not even thinking about fucking packing it, right? So
that's low key a stunt question.
You know what I'm saying? But she's like, do I need to pack long sleeve, short sleeve? What do I need to do, right?
Pack the Louis or the Gucci?
Correct. So
the hot tops.
That's it. No, but she's like, I'm laying out my outfits. The shirt matches the shoes. I want these to match my Vans. And
talk about it.
You be on that? You be on that? That's exactly how she is. So, and I've come to understand that, and I appreciate it because it helps me be in check. But, so that structure, she likes structure. She likes to know that certain shit is going to happen. I might be like, when you can still go to the movies, but I'll be like, yo, we're going to go to the movies next Thursday. The show's at 3. And she'd be like, all right, cool. At 3:15, she's like, or 2:45 really. She's like, so the movie's coming up at 3, and we haven't left, and you know how long it takes to get to Atlantic Station.
And then we gotta wait in line for popcorn.
And we gotta get the popcorn. So, are you gonna get the popcorn, or can I sit down?
That's so annoying when they start asking questions about supplementary stuff like you a liar. I hate when my daughter does that.
I'm gonna just jump out there. Just you talked about Capricorn shit. That might be like a thing because
it is. As I'm saying, she likes structure, and it's more than just. It's beyond just the fact that children like structure. Children need structure. It's beyond that. It's like she's a manager, right? She's a manager. So me being the Libra, and I just be like, yo, chill, man. Like if we don't make the 3 o'clock, we'll get the 4:15. We'll get the 4:15. You know what I'm saying? That
makes sense though, because you are a Libra, and it's something about. I hate to be this sage burning woke ass. Hotep ass nigga, but I do think there is a certain synergy between people, especially because a lot of my friends are Capricorns. Like Austin's mom is a Capricorn, like Draft is a Capricorn, Illa's a Capricorn, and Libras like you, especially with Libra women, like my homegirl Chris, shout out Chris, like she's one of those people who like when we sit down and we talk about the aspect of like especially dealing with children and being in a creative space, like. We come to it from a idea of freedom, like
let's just chill, man.
Yeah, let's chill out, bro. Relax. And then when you deal with a child who's like, all right, so what we doing? It's like, man, we doing it.
Relax, right? That is so real. That is so real.
Anytime I'm around another person, it's an event to me. Yeah. So it's like, all right, so what we doing, bro? Because if we not doing nothing,
sometimes I look at her face and like I can tell that's what she does. I can tell she's saying that exact phrase, like, what's going on, man? Like, what's good, man? Like, what are we really doing? Like, so.
Because I got shit I could be doing, even if it's nothing.
Correct. Nah, for real, she'll be like, I'll tell her, I'm like, all right, you know how it is with black mom. They say they're leaving and it takes like 40 minutes for them to leave, right? So,
course,
I'll be like, I'll say, okay, we're gonna leave and go home, but plans may change, right? Plans change. So when we going out to Antigua, Lena will be like, you said we were going home. Now we're not. My artwork is at home. I was hoping I could go home and paint. And I'm like, yo, you're going to have to paint later. Relax. And it's not going to go in there. She's like, but can we go home and grab my supplies?
At least.
So we can, and then go out to Auntie Nika's, you know what I'm saying? So it's like...
This is how you paint at a photo shoot.
But, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is that, like, I appreciate that is a part of her, or that is her, because it helps me be on my P's and Q's.
And you get a point where you can nurture it, because I think the big thing is like in our life, because of our life being structured by parents who had 9 to 5s and didn't have a free flowing type of like occupation, we noticed where the structure was implied. In this situation, it also gives us the freedom to apply our own set of standards on what structure is.
And that's what I hope, that's what I kind of hope that she takes from it, is that, like, I don't want her, I mean, she may still grow up and be like, yo, my mom was all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Right? When she's having her conversations with her homies and shit, and they...
I know my daughter would say that shit about me.
You already know, right? But I do hope that she takes away from it that, maybe I don't need to be so rigid. Maybe I don't. I'm like, yo, just free up a little bit, Linda. I appreciate what you're giving me, but also you have to receive what I'm giving you, right?
I think in time you learn the balance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't expect her to know that at 11. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? At 11, she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
I think the balance is dictated by the time you're in, because to a certain extent, our children aren't going to grow up in the time frame where their attention span is going to be required for the amount of time ours was, because now it's like, yo, you
15 seconds.
Even the teaching, the way people are taught is indicative by the attention span of the children they have to sit there with. And if when they go home, they can be on their phone, their computer, and watch TV all at the same time, all different things, and not to mention the tangible shit that they're doing. It may be painting. Like, I think about myself, like there were only 2 mediums I could have going, like either music and a movie or some shit, while I did homework or paint or try to write raps. Now, like, you can be all over the place at one point in time and be doing so much more in those spaces than I could ever imagine. So structure is going to be whatever you make it based on the resources you have.
That's very true. That is very true. And that's but you know, I would like, it's similar to like when she started doing math and they was doing some crazy shit. And I was like,
math
just carry the one.
I'm scared.
Just carry the one.
Yeah.
Carry the one. And she was like, no, you have to do it like this. I was like, carry the one. Carry the motherfucking one, right? If Johnny has 2 apples, that's what it eventually devolved into, right? But like I try to explain to her, I'm like, yo, okay, we're gonna take a break from the TikTok and all this stuff, right? The YouTube and all this type of thing. I was like, yo, go paint. That's why I got those damn supplies up in there. That's why I bought you some gel medium. I don't even know what that is.
Those are
You know what I'm saying?
I remember that. My art shit, I used to steal them.
You used to steal them?
Yeah.
You know, okay, see, that's what I'm saying. So I be getting this stuff for her. Like, we go to Michael's, and I'm like, all right, look, we got a budget of $50 for your art stuff. Let's not go above that, right? She'll pick it all out, and she'll be like, well, I saw this on YouTube, and I want this, and I want this type of brush. I'm like, all right, cool, go nuts. But when it's time to utilize it, yeah, you can have your headphones on, but I want you listening to music.
Yeah.
And doing art. And that's it. No YouTube, no none of that. Music and your art. And then rock it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then she comes back to me and she's like, look at this painting I'm working on. And it's like, I'm like, all right, bet. She'll do the same painting over and over until she finds the technique that she likes.
Damn, that's really dope.
That's dope.
It is
Capricorn
dope.
shit.
Yeah, it is. it is. Or it just might be her shit. Like,
Nah, it's some Capricorn shit.
it is a Capricorn shit.
So,
Yeah, she'll do it over and over, and she's like, I'm like, how many different?
I literally
what it looks like
I talked
is
about reps like literally like on like maybe like 2 episodes ago. I'm like, this shit all about reps. Like I gotta get this shit in, man. Once I do some shit, I'm doing it, man. Like I'm addicted to it. Like I have to do it all the time. And when I first started rapping, like I was coming home every day. We was like back then it was 3 verses, 16 bars. Like you think about that, bro. I got like 1,000, like real shit. I probably got 2,000-3,000 songs, like real shit, like just 3 verses, like shit I don't even remember no more. You know what I mean? Just cause like I loved rap so much, so I can imagine like it's always good to fun like when you see a kid like dive into something and really fall in love with it, like and they want to get it perfect just on their own accord. You know, like this is a very.
You know what she told me the other day? But you know when black people speak 2 years
be-
ago, 2 weeks ago, right now.
Now and forever.
Now, right, yesterday, 2 minutes ago,
Could
right?
be the first words. Who knows?
But she had told me she was like, she can be kind of closed off sometimes, but she was like, Mom, why don't you let me tell people about my work? And because I was like, yo, and she's painting now and she's doing this because I'm just proud mommy, right? And she was like, I don't want you to tell them. I'll tell them when I'm ready to tell them.
Yeah,
and I was
I hated that. I'm glad she said that.
I am too. I am too.
It's like, yeah, I'm still working on this shit. I remember like, I just
that's kind of what it is.
I just told this story not too long ago. I don't even remember if I said it on the podcast, but I remember when I was drawing this shit, because I used to love art, like when I was a kid. So I was drawing like, you know, as if every nigga starts off Dragon Ball Z characters and shit like that, like, you know, whatever anime shit. And
yeah, she's on that now too.
Yeah. I remember my dad like pulling me like in a cookout, like, hey man, I let my son be drawing and shit, like draw right now, go. And I'm just like, motherfucker, he just give me a pen. I'm like, nigga.
So you do some shit, let's do it.
She draw a smiley face.
Like motherfucker, like I was drawing, looking at the picture, like I wasn't to the point where I could just draw it off the top. Nigga, I'm not freestyle drawing, like nigga, like
pressure.
Like, yeah, I'm not KRS-One, nigga, like
pressure. Nah,
fail, bro.
She
pointing the shit out your day.
Yeah.
Everybody let down.
Yeah.
It was like,
But I feel the same way.
Exactly. So it's like, nigga, I'm working on this shit. Nigga, I didn't say I was like, nigga,
Yeah, that's trauma, bro. You traumatizing your kids.
and but I had
niggas I do shit. You know, tell niggas I work on shit. Yeah. Don't tell them I do it.
I don't know what that nigga do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feed him, bro. This nigga go in his room. Come back out for school. Nah, I feel like that's one of the reasons. Like,
yeah,
and not even that. I feel like because I never thought about that. That's a unique opinion to have about your work so early, especially when it don't mean shit. Because we at a point where all this
it means something.
No, I mean that like that.
It means something to her. Like, and I had to. Like instead of just being like your little like painting, it's cute.
Like sleek. It's slick.
In her mind, she's dead ass. She was like, I did a new painting, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she showed it to me, and I was like, yo, Lena, it was really nice. She had it like all. She likes the painter's tape now, right? So she be sectioning shit off, right? So it was like a 4 seasons, and she drew the same tree in the 4 seasons, and it looked very beautiful. I was like, wow, I really fucked with this. This is really nice. And she was like, do you really like it? And I was like, yeah. She was like, it's $50. And I was like,
It's a level.
She did the same shit to my mom. She sent my mom a text of a picture. My mom was like, beautiful, and she was like, well, can I have that? And Linda was like, $25.
That's crazy.
$25, and my mom was like,
right,
for the painting? For the painting?
Yeah.
Linda was like, yeah, I'm looking at the text exchange. She's like, yeah, for the painting. And my mom's was like, you can't come down a little bit? Linda was like, no.
That's crazy. That's crazy, yeah. I wish.
Because she's seen her mama
do it.
Get it.
Yeah.
She's seen her mama. She's heard.
Facts, for sure.
You don't know what your children. When you're in a room, just kind of.
That shit is.
She listens. She sees all the people around her are going for it. Like, she's around.
Because I had those thoughts, but when nobody let me do them, like, yo, this nigga crazy, man. I don't know what's up with this nigga.
Or somebody tell you, like, yo, this.
I mean, she don't be saying stuff like that, I hope, but.
Think about
no, I'm saying, like, if she said it, like, they was like, I'm saying, I'm lean though. So it's like, if I said that shit out my mouth, like, yo, he charged.
But that's a value thing, though. Like we realize how, like I'm fucking with draft. Like, yo, that's trauma, bro. You sitting there being forced to draw on command, niggas.
That is trauma.
But it does shape your narrative on how you approach your art. Because there's times when, being an adult, I remember, I'm shitting on my dad. My dad, I love my dad, but he comes from a different perspective when it comes down to what work is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like I said, my dad did photography. My mom was into art and creative endeavors, but eventually life happened, and you started adulting. And I think of points in times, even in my adult life, it's like, yo, I know he does that, but that ain't a job. And I'm like, yo, based on whose measure is this not a job? And at what point wasn't it feasible for the person who's actually doing it? Because I see my mother in that sense. In Linda's situation, she sees her mother sell art.
So
I do art.
I know.
Why can't I sell this?
I've been to art shows.
Yeah.
I've seen niggas sell art all the time. Oh, and how do I know that she's not looking at these price tags like, So I told her, I was like, well, I'm not going to pay that for that. I was like, I want a better technique. You know what I'm saying? In order for it to be $50, I was like, you need to show me $50 work. Right now, we're looking at smooth 20. Right?
So
you know what I'm saying? She was like, oh, well, and then the next day, maybe a couple days later, her dad came. I think it was her dad came through, and I hear her in the back like, it's $20 if you want it, right? You know what I'm saying? So she's like trying to hustle her shit. Right. So, and who am I to say?
No,
you can't. Who am I to say? It's like whatever. So I told her, I said, listen, if you build up a nice collection of work that you would like to sell, we can have it at the studio. We can have a show at the studio. And we'll invite people over.
A kids art show?
Yeah, like why not?
That'd be crazy, yeah.
Why not give children the chance to sell their work?
Definitely show up.
I'm bringing Austin. I'm gonna make a draw. Sit down and draw.
Right now. Because you know
you gotta have something right. I need Dragon Ball Z in good hands. Fingers on all my hands, bro.
I was gonna be like,
fuck, I don't even want to paint. Yo, I fussed at her the other day about like, she had a baseball bat in the car. Ready to show you how fragile kids are. She had a baseball bat in the car coming home from a friend's house, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye and freaked out because I didn't know what it was. I'm like, Austin, put that down. She put the bat down. I hear sniffling in the back. I'm just quiet because I done spazzed on her. I'm like, yo, you just can't play with the baseball bat in the car, okay? I'm sorry for yelling at you. And she's like, I don't even want to play baseball no more.
You got look, whole time she could have been on some. That's for the that was the Nexus event. For a few moments, on her way to being a fucking like baseball softball girl. Sandlot.
I realized like, damn, I'm be fucking my child up just being me, like trying not to crash.
That would have been Sammy Sosa. You fucked that shit. You knocked it out the park.
Yeah, I don't even want to play baseball.
If you will.
Yo, like, but you do have to be mindful. You do have to be mindful about that. Like, what it is you're feeding them and how Yeah. I mean, obviously physical, but like, what are you feeding their mind?
Yeah, the mental diet.
What are you telling them they can do and they can't do, right? But at the same time, why do you have the baseball bat in the car right now? Like, put it down. You can play with it when we get home.
Yeah. Being a parent is always balancing out the message you give and the discipline that come with letting them be a free spirit. And it's like, yo, I I salute people who are creative now in the space, because I look at this shit and it's like, I can't imagine what my life would have been like if my parents did what I did as an adult with me in tow.
It would be crazy.
It would be
crazy.
Fucking insane.
It would be pretty. It would be different. But like, I say this: my mom's told me no a lot of times, right? And I would be like, Mom, because I was like a science kid, and we lived in the woods and stuff. So I would come in with like berries that I was mashing up, like berries I found in the woods, and I'd be like, and I just want to put a little of this and a little of that. So I remember really like my mom came in the kitchen, she was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like I'm making gummy berry juice, and she was like, no, throw it out now, right? Because if I had drank it, I wouldn't be here today, right? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, or I remember one time I asked her, I was like, what's that thing that you open a bottle of wine with? And she was like, a corkscrew. And I was like, can I have one? Because I found a tree outside that looks like they might have like tapped. Because I lived in Connecticut, right? So Pilgrims and all that type of stuff was like
maple syrup.
heavy, right? So I found a tree that looked like it had a plug in it, and I was like, it had like a little like spout thing, and I was like, I wonder if this tree was used to make maple syrup, right? So I was like, I'm gonna get the corkscrew and I'm gonna pull it out. My mom was like, she heard me go through the whole thing, and she was like, no. You know what I'm saying? It was like shit, man. Like, don't you want to see it with me? Like, don't you want to see it with me? She was like, no, you're not doing it. So it's like all these different ideas that I wanted to explore and try. She was like, nah, like
you could have been a professional tree tapper.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? In my mind, I was like, yo, I am Little House on the Prairie right now, right? So
you could have went to space.
My mom's was a but nah, like, and that leads me to who I am as a parent now, and I'm like, yo, whatever you want to do, as long as it's not no stupid shit.
But not
because but at the same time, I realized I had to reel it back just a little because she started like mixing stuff up. So I would go in her room and I'd be like, what the fuck is that smell? Where is that smell coming from? And then I go over to her, maybe one of her like concoctions, and I lift it up, and I'm like, Linda, what is this? And she's like, well, I took baking powder and I mixed it with XYZ, plus I added a little bit of this and paint and glue, and that's what it is. And I'm like,
spend that bomb.
I'd be like, right, you know what I'm saying? I was like, Linda.
This is another Nexus event, bro.
Right. So I was like,
we need the time agency, nigga. Time varies.
It wasn't even so much that like. And then my silly ass was like, it wasn't even so much that it was a concoction as much as you use one of my like good glasses for it. Like I was like, get this shit out of here.
It's my yak glass. What the fuck you got going on in here?
I was annoyed as hell. So you know,
I'm gonna get drunk without this glass. You in here fucking shit. Nah, I get it, man.
Don't you use me? You know we use these glasses, but
Come on.
But you know, you got it's a fine line. You know what I'm saying? Like I pour into her and I allow her to explore it within reason. You know what I'm saying? I try not to be
I want to talk about Around the Way Dreams, man. So let's talk about it.
Around the Way Dreams?
Yeah. How was like that experience? I know you had like the whole thing downtown with the like, I thought it was really dope because I'm like, damn, like she took over the street in a way. So like, how did that come about? What was the idea from it? Where did give me the
can we take a break?
411. Oh yeah.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, we can take a break.
Yeah.
Let's take a break real quick.
I'm something like a phenomenon. I don't know.
That's what we leading with.
Yeah.
The playlist of draft songs that he references and never listens to is gonna be thick, nigga. A lot of Ludacris.
That's just crazy. I was like, I don't even know where that line comes from.
A lot of Mystical, bro. A lot of LL Cool J. That's LL.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm gonna throw on a song that he ain't even referenced, bro. He
on that nigga. Oh well.
Nigga so affected by culture, he don't fuck with.
Yeah, I'm a culture baby, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're back here with Melly Mel, Phyllis Iller, as y'all know her, man.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So we were talking about projects that you had worked on recently, but let's not focus on the stuff you've already done. What are you getting ready to do, or that you can talk about?
Okay, so I got like 2 projects that are coming up, and I don't even know when. I can't give you a date for them. But it's just really ongoing projects. The first one is Around the Way Dreams, which is an exploration of the around the way girl who grew up, essentially. Who is she? What does she do? Is she a mom? Is she a wife? Is she an entrepreneur? You know what I'm saying? Is she an astronaut? Is she a doctor? Is she a teacher? Like, and how did the lessons that she learned as an around the way girl, how have those influenced her life to being a grown woman? Really, but then it's a generational thing, because I consider myself to be hip hop's little sister, because when I was coming up, my brother was able to go see Tribe live, right? And even before him, my older cousins saw Rakim and EPMD and all that stuff, right? So maybe I'm hip hop's like super little sister, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 3rd generation. So what Around the Way Dreams is seeking to do is learn from those first generation Around the Way girls from the 80s, and then going into the 90s, and then, you know, and so on and so forth. Yeah. But then also keeping in mind that there's another generation coming up behind us.
Do you always think of projects in series like that?
Nah. It just came around. You know what I'm saying? Because I realize I have an intense curiosity for things that are interesting to me. Like, I want to dive into them, right? And so what I'm hoping to do with Around the Way Dreams is, right now I'm trying to get grants that will help me to fund a tour so I can go to Detroit. I was thinking about Miami, but one of my homegirls was telling me to go to Kingston, Jamaica, New York, DC maybe. But then also I wanted to go to Memphis. Okay. I wanted to keep it like in this, like on the East Coast for right now. But Memphis for some reason has always been like, I'm just curious about Memphis because it's very black. You know what I'm saying? It's super black. So I'm like, what's it like there? What's it like to be an around the way girl in Memphis? You said what?
It's almost scary black.
Okay,
crunchy black. Crunchy black.
Yep. And that's why. And growing up, bro, and not knowing shit about Memphis, if you met Memphis niggas or listened to a lot of 3-6, nigga, it was like, oh damn, nigga, it's like Atlanta's Pride Rock. Memphis is the place the light never touches.
That's awful. It's not awful because I mean they still had their own shit going on.
But it's like that for everywhere when you kind of grow up in it. When you grow up in a space where like you see, it's almost like dealing with people who come from another country. And it's like, the first time you see a nigga eat with his hands, you're like, what the fuck, nigga? But then you're like, okay, that
was the craziest shit to pull from.
No, but some cultures were different.
But I understood.
But it was just a wild thing.
It was, but it definitely served a purpose.
You walk into a place and you see how people move. Like, I mean, I think that's the purpose of a project, too. Like with those type of things, like having the type of network you do, and you meet somebody from Memphis, you're like, damn, nigga, I always looked at that place like it was crazy. Like, nah, nigga, like.
But you know, and it's what it is it's just understanding someone else's block. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I live in West End. You know what I'm saying? I live on the West Side.
Exactly.
When I come to the East Side, I be like, I don't know this ain't.
Oh, I'm an East Side nigga.
Same.
Throw the East.
Alright.
Oh, East Side.
Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you see it, the cab right in the back, bro.
Baby,
we run the East Side. We go back.
Anytime you say Kitties or West Side, it's got to be a break just so we can bang ourselves.
I'm like, damn, y'all done. No, but you know, so when I'm when it's. And even on the West Side, if you're not on your block, it's gonna look a little different.
It'll look a little different. Yeah,
it looks a little different. So what I'm hoping to do though is like in each of those cities, I maybe know 1 or 2 people. I could be like, yo, can you gather some?
Make sure I'm straight.
Around the way girls, or like, can you put me in touch with someone who can help me to, you know, do that type of thing. So that's the first thing that that's ongoing. Like because I told myself, I give myself something every year for my business for my birthday every year. So 1 year it might have been a website, another year it might have been a shirt.
Can I be for your business?
You said what?
Nothing. Go on. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry to break the ear.
But yeah, so like next year I want to give myself a coffee table book, and I want it to be based on Around the Way Dreams. And
that's fire.
And so it's going to be like my travels, right? So I have to have funding for that. I have to have funding.
Manifest.
Yeah, we're gonna manifest that straight up. I have until, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna manifest that. But
that's why this is therapy, man. This nigga's grown.
Just take one episode. Just take one episode, man.
I see it. I see
the maturation of me, man. Do this.
Come on, Goku.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We building now.
We are. We are. But then the other project I have is called Front Free, which is based off a lyric from Fife. Where he says, "Let's make it happen. Let's make it front free."
R.P. Fife.
That was my brother's first placement. Shout out to Jay Hayes. He did a beat for Fife.
Man. R.P. Fife.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the artists that
I love him.
That's crazy, bro. Like he got to
have conversations with. Shout out Roster Group.
Actually, that whole connection all kind of stemmed from the whole thing. So
Fife was a solid nigga as far as like rap niggas go. Like when you talk about what we talked about before the pod, like how most of these niggas is lame. But like there are certain times when you look at certain areas and the people who are at the top and got their accolades, like you can see why they deserve it. Like a person of the people, man.
Man, you know what's so fucked up? I guess I gotta really tell the story because I'm gonna ruin the podcast with this.
No, I'm gonna hold on to it. I got you. Front free.
Yeah,
keep going.
I want to hear the story.
Yeah,
but
no, go ahead, fuck it. Let's do it. Cause fuck it, man. It's fucked up about Fife because you got the shirt on, man. And like we talked about Seeds Planet earlier, like I wish somebody like I didn't get to grow up around East Coast music. I'm from Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? So I never really got to appreciate Tribe. So like even the time like we had like Sean and Vince met Fife. And like I was just going through my own personal problems, so that shit wasn't a big deal to me. But now that he's gone, it's like damn. It's fucked up. I wish I would have went out. Like I would have had that moment. That would have been a really big moment. It's some shit I think about all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because I was too in my head about the shit. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about my own shit. Blah blah.
Therapizing.
Yeah, therapizing myself.
Making it front free, bro.
You know what I mean?
Grab gonna be the first speaker, bro. This shit too real, nigga.
It
He'll come in there like he trying to be scared straight for artists. Sit down, nigga. Let me tell you about yourself. But yeah, Front Free.
Front Free. I'm sorry. I just
no,
but I never told that story.
But you know, it's funny because we're like you were like didn't really grow up. So how I grew up is like the first hip hop song I remember feeling was like being like, what is that, right? I was listening to Electric Relaxation through my brother's door.
You know how long it took me to realize Electric Relaxation was the Wayans Brothers theme?
Dead ass.
Nigga, I didn't know shit about. That's how much I didn't know about Tribe. I didn't know that was a thing.
Were you an adult?
Yes, for sure.
No, I mean, because
I didn't grow up on Tribe. None of that like Africa Bambaataa, like cultural wooden beads shit.
And African leather Africa chains.
Nigga, my dad was a drug dealer. We gonna bleep that. But grew up on that shit, nigga. Nigga was playing Tupac. At the most we got closest to that was like Outkast because that was some Atlanta shit.
That's crazy. Yeah. See, I didn't have any knowledge of anything other than East Coast shit. So when I moved down here, I was like,
nah, I was hearing all G-Funk.
What the fuck is this bass shit?
My parents loved funk music, so G-Funk was a natural progression. You know
right. See, my parents always raised me on stylistics, Delphonics, jazz.
I had that too. Had that, yeah, of course.
Jazz, like, my parents were older, and so, like, my dad was 50 when I was in 6th grade. My dad was 50.
Crazy.
Yeah, when I was in 6th grade. So it's like, you know, the thing, my mom had doo-wop and shit playing all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there was no, the funkiest maybe it got was maybe there was some Sly and the Family Stone.
My parents just love music. Like my parents knows Kanye.
We weren't hearing no Rick James in the crib. I know that.
My dad know Kendrick.
No Prince.
My dad knows Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? Like they love music like on that level. Like so if something is big enough.
That's an important thing though. Yeah. That's important.
They still go to Jazz Fest and all that shit. Like they on that. They on that type of shit. So
it's good to have a house full of music, but
I'm sorry,
so you know, Fife means a lot to me. Like means a lot, right? And I never actually physically met him, but I remember being at MJQ one night, vibing with Nika, right? We getting it on the dance floor, and I remember hearing this, like somebody come over the microphone, rapping a Tribe song, and I turn around and like Fife is like right there, and I'm rapping with him word for word. You know, that moments like that.
With
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm in step, right?
So it's like, you got a lot of them moments.
So like when you have
Just Blaze, man. We met Just Blaze at MJQ, man. That shit was special, dog. Yeah, I could have cried in that moment. And like Just Blaze, you know.
So I can relate. I can relate.
But it's like you know, but then you also remember that these are still just people. You know what I'm saying? Like I've talked to Pete Rock. You know, Pete Rock. Was me and Pete Rock was going back and forth in the DMs about comics. You know what I'm saying about comics? Because I'm like, you a regular, you know, he's a regular person. Now, what you create with your mind is amazing and beautiful, but you're still just a regular person, right? Which is why it's easy for me to show up in moments when I'm in the same room as Shaq. Or I'm in the same room as I took pictures of Ready for the World, like you know what I'm saying, like you know what I'm saying, like there's been places.
Matter of fact,
is it just people?
The Adult Swim, my guy, the Jesus guy. Can't think of his name right now.
Slick Johnson.
Slick Johnson, yeah.
Slick was in my house.
Slick, yeah, I was like, when I saw that picture, I was like, yo, that shit is nuts, yo.
My homegirl Tracy and my homeboy Tracy and Demaine. Tracy was like, yo, I grew up with Sling. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to come, you know, can we bring him through? And I'm like, Black Jesus?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about Black Jesus, not Adult Swim Black Jesus. I'm talking about Black Jesus when Black Jesus was just on YouTube. And he tapped that bottle of water and turned it into yak.
The Everest commercial. The Everest commercial, Sling?
The shit was funny,
on the
but
couch,
it's like
rolling up that stank ass bag of Strebo. Nigga, what's that old junior lawyer shit? Nigga, what he say? Nigga said, fuck, you talking about public defender? Yeah, that old school college smart ass nigga.
But you know, it's like when you find yourself in those positions, it's like, yo, it's just be yourself, right? So that's what Front Free is going to be about. Front Free is really just a place for people to feel, to be vulnerable and come as their fullest selves and understand what vulnerability means and how does vulnerability play into your life, whether you're a creative or not. Like, I'm still trying to figure out if I want it to be strictly for creatives, but I don't want to leave anybody out of that conversation.
It's dope. I think that term.
So I'm also trying to find grants for that, like funding for that, because I would want it to be where it's like vulnerability for creatives. Like, how does vulnerability inform your artwork? But also, how does vulnerability inform your relationships? As a mom, as a lover, as a dad, as a friend, as a son.
And the reason why not to cut you off, but the reason why this shit is dope, because these are conversations we just had.
Correct.
Not even on the pod, but just going through the like what you been on conversation about life. And there are some people who don't get that. Like the whole debate between therapy and art is that you still got to have a place to vent, but what other place to vent with people who can understand the context of your issues and your struggles? Because that's something that, like, when you go home to the person who you may be dealing with, whether it be your child or your significant other, they may not understand because they're not into it at the level you at. You know what I mean? And our peer group has so much to offer one another when it comes down to understanding, even if you don't do the same medium, understanding what it's like.
The process is very important. That's why I wanted to do like these, interview type series, because it's like, yo, the thing that's missing is nobody like lets you see how the sausage is made. Like, in the end of the day, like that's why I fell in love with podcasts in the beginning, because you got to hear people's story, like an intimate version of their story. Like it's like so much shit you don't know about somebody. So
get to be front free.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you, like, and then and my thing is like even me saying saying it out loud, you know what I'm saying, speaking on it, it's like, letting it out there into the universe, right? And it's like, and I'm like, all right,
now I got weight on it.
Now I got to do it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because people hear it and they're like, oh yeah, well, I fucks with that, and I'm like, really?
Half the reason why I love this podcast shit, because like, nigga, once you started, niggas like, where your shit, nigga, no episode out.
So I'm like, let me go ahead and trademark what I got to trademark, because I already know that for Around the Way Dreams and Front Free, these are all things that are still based in around the shit that, right? So going back to the beginning of our conversation of like, what is it about my practice and all of this stuff? It's like everything I touch personally is rooted in the same shit. Intimacy. What's going to bring us closer together? Because as Black people, I mean, obviously this could be open to anybody, but my main shit is always uplifting us. If anyone else takes something from it, cool. But black and brown people are important to me. You know what I'm saying? Because we are dogged in the media, and when we leave this country, when we're in this country.
Yeah, perception is a good.
Yeah.
Like once you change the perception of us in a public space, you get people to sit with it and change the perception of themselves once they get done with
so
it.
It's exactly. But the thing is that I'm not seeking for CNN to run a story on my shit.
Right.
I'm not some niche. I'm not some. No. Right. It's not some shit that's we're running a story on you and then that's it.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, this is about longevity. This is about us seeing us and being like, because that's why they put so much stuff in the news to bring us down. I think. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's programming.
You know what I'm saying, my brother? Now dig this. Now dig this. You gotta use your therapize.
Your therapize mind.
You gotta therapize with your eyes, right?
We got a title.
Yeah, therapize.
Nah, but dead ass. I feel like the reason why they kept us, the reason why they kept us ignorant and can't read, can't do shit, is because they know that we are stronger together. You know what I'm saying? Right. And our strength is what. That's why they could look at you, and be like,
and I think,
look at this big ass gorilla motherfucker, right? They could look at me and be like, yo, when I was giving birth to my daughter, right? I had an epidural, and I was like, I can still feel the pain on one side, and she was like, no, you can't. How the fuck you gonna tell me about my body and what I can feel? Because they think that they see this and they be like, "You're strong enough."
Right. There's stories that came out now that we're here about like how they like diagnose black pain like not on the same level.
You know what I'm saying? So don't the gynecology came from a man practicing and dissecting and probing on slave women, enslaved black women. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I do this because of that. You know, I do this because of so many other things. It's for us to see us. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit about what. I mean, if someone else sees it and says, I like this. This is nice. Cool. But do we see it? You know what I mean? That's what's most important to me. So it's like, I'm here for our upliftment and our healing.
It's dope that and I see it in so many works, even just with the stuff that we've done. Because we didn't even talk about the work that we've done together musically or creatively, just being in a creative space.
Which is very appreciated.
But you not only do you create safe spaces for black people to be themselves by you being yourself, but you allow your energy to allow other people, even in their own space, to be themselves and convey ideas that may not have naturally been there without you being there, whether you got your camera or not. So again, I appreciate your energy and the ideas that you bring to the table whenever you're invited out or choose to show up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything you want to plug as far as your social media?
You can follow me. I'm mostly active on Instagram.
Okay.
My Instagram is Phyllis, Phyllis.
You ain't got to really spell it, honestly.
You ain't
got to worry about that. We're going to put it in.
Byline.
Yeah.
If you want to spell it out, you can.
Yeah.
Shout out to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Zag.
Now she look disappointed. I feel like I should have let you finish. I'm sorry.
Don't ever cut a black woman off. I'm sorry.
High key.
I can feel the energy just switch.
I'm gonna respect, you know what I'm saying? But I was gonna let y'all finish. I was like, okay, let me let them finish before I continue with what the fuck I gotta say. But
I know it's your little podcast and shit.
Right. Niggas both was like, nah, you ain't even really gotta spell it out. And I'm like, cool. Let me listen to both of y'all at the same time say the same thing. Cool. Got it. Word. But if you do want to look me up, you can find me at Phyllis.Iller or Phyllis period Iller.
And like we said, it will be in the bio. I'm not trying to.
It's gonna be in the bio draft.
I'm just saying.
So look. Right? Phyllis Iller. Now dig this. Phyllis Iller. PhyllisIller.com.
Yeah.
Holler at me for all your photography, perhaps sometimes videography needs.
If you can afford it.
I mean,
y'all heard them checks.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him because
and if y'all want to buy some art, Lindy got paintings going for $50.
Come on now, if you do want to purchase some of my daughter's stuff, then we're more than happy to do that. You know, I'm just here to have a good time. Just to have a good time.
Nah, I appreciate you. You're very appreciated. I think we are the Wash guys. We're washed, never washed up,
washed,
man.
Never washed up, man. We appreciate y'all time.
Yeah, I want to thank Phyllis Iller once again. Thank you for pulling up. This shit was special. I had a lot of fun.
Guys.
Yeah, shit was dope. Shout out to Warren 404 Creators. As I always say, man, when you see us, you see him.
And like, subscribe, share, do all that shit y'all know y'all supposed to do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for all the people that have been tuning in.
Shout out to No Limit Exposure.
Yeah, shout out to No Limit Exposure.
Taji, where are you?
Probably doing some cool shit.
We're hoping to see Taji.
Doing some cool shit we can't afford to do.
Yeah. As always.
And somewhere in the country.
Somewhere in the foreign country. Not talking to niggas.
Oh yeah, niggas. Y'all sitting at home being broke. I'm gonna call you when I get back.
Me and Jeff Bezos kicking
space,
it.
nigga.
But anyway, I guess that is the episode, man.
Well, hold on. I have one thing to say.
What's up?
I'm proud of you guys. I am.
Heart appears.
I know.
Right.
No, but I am, because you guys have I've just watched y'all grow, and like I was listening to your albums and just hearing the progression, and I'm just very proud of y'all. And then watching y'all do this, you know what I'm saying, like with consistency. I'm proud of y'all.
I appreciate it, man.
Growing.
It's a lot.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, cool. That's it. That's it.
Washed, never washed up, man.
Yeah. We out.
Peace.